Welcome, everyone. My name is John Brenneman, and I am the president here at MOA Vacations. Thank you for joining us today. We are joined today by Brett with Viking River Cruises, Viking Ocean Cruises, and Viking Expeditions. I think that name was too long for the banner, so we just abbreviated it to Viking. If you didn't know, we are going to talk about three MOA group departures. One of them is an ocean cruise, one of them is a river cruise, and one of them is a Viking expedition. Brett is also going to give us an overview of Viking in total and all the different brands. So we've got a lot to cover today. I always like to let people know at the start of the webinar, we are recording this webinar. And so tomorrow you'll receive an email and it will actually have a copy of this webinar so you can revisit it or share it with others if you'd like to. If there's any information. A little tip that I always like to tell people: if we're in the process of this presentation and you hear or see something that you think you want to revisit, just kind of take a quick look at your watch or your phone or a clock or whatever and note the time, because when we send you the webinar, it'll be about an hour long, and then you can actually just skip forward. So if it's 25 minutes after the hour, you can just forward to 25 minutes of the video and save yourself a little time if you don't want to watch it in its entirety again. I'm going to talk real quick about MOA Vacations, and then I'm going to turn it over to Brett, and he's actually going to talk about Viking and the groups and everything. After which we are going to have a Q&A, which is your opportunity to ask any questions that you might have on anything Viking related, to Viking groups, or any of those types of things. If you take your cursor to the bottom of the screen, you'll see a little menu that pops up. There is a little balloon that says Q&A. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to go ahead and ask them. I will be answering questions while Brett's talking, or at least to the best of my ability. What I like to do, if it's a simple question, I will go ahead and answer it. If it's a simple question or a more difficult one, I might go ahead and do a quick answer, but we'll bring those up at the end of the Q&A if we think it's something that your fellow members would be interested in the answer to as well. So real quick, MOA Vacations. For those of you who are not familiar, we are the affinity travel partner for MOAA, and we are a full service travel agency. So in addition to cruises, we do land tours, hotels, resort stays. Basically, anytime you're going on vacation, we'd like to be your agency of choice. The one thing that really sets us apart, and I see this really on a daily or weekly basis in my interaction with MOA members, is our level of superior service. It is actually more of a concierge level of service, where we are here to provide you any help that you need on any of your vacation travel. And for those of you who've seen these webinars before, as I always like to say, we are and we continue to be the only travel agency in the United States that offers travel on a satisfaction guaranteed basis. And that simply means that if you have an issue or a problem or a concern, or if there's something that you want that you cannot get before or during your cruise, you reach out to us and we will do everything we can, or we will resolve that to your satisfaction. In fact, if you have an issue, it will either be handled by myself personally in the majority of the cases, or in some cases, Mike Tyrell, our vice president, will also help in that problem resolution. So you immediately go to the top so we can get it done in a quick and timely manner. For any of you who've had an issue before with a cruise or a tour, the industry standard is actually 6 to 8 weeks for a problem resolution. So let's say you have a problem on your cruise. They're literally talking, it could be up to 2 months. We actually try to get everything resolved within 48 hours. We do have the lowest prices. I think it's a lowest price guarantee. This kind of falls back into there was a time when I only had 3 little boxes here, because, I used to think satisfaction guarantee covered guaranteed lowest price, because no one would be satisfied if they paid too much. But on top of that lowest price, we do a free amenity program, and I'm gonna let Brett talk about that a little bit more during his presentation. But we do actually have a free amenity for any Viking cruise you book this month, which would actually mean your price is actually lower than the lowest price. And then, of course, group opportunities, and these range from individuals who do like a multi-generational trip, or they'll do a trip with their friends or their or even within their chapters or their councils or whatever. But we also have groups like Brett's going to talk about where we've actually preset those up so individual members can join a group of their fellow MOA members, not only from their local chapter or their local city, but MOA members all across the country. So we've got a lot to cover. So I know I went over that really quickly, but I just want to reiterate that we want to be your travel agency of choice. And then one other thing we always talk about when we talk about all of these benefits, the service, the lowest price, the amenity, and the opportunity to go on these group departures is available to MOA members and your guests. And there is no limit on the number of guests you can bring. So if you have one couple, 3 couples, 20 couples that wants to go on a trip, invite them along. They will get all of the service and amenities that you receive as a MOA member. And you might remember one of the first things I mentioned at the very beginning was you could share this webinar with your friends and family when we send you this email tomorrow. So as you are thinking about where you want to go and what you want to do, if there's family or friends that you would like to invite to join you, feel free to forward them this webinar. We will actually, what we actually do this evening, we'll download it, and then tomorrow we'll upload it to, we actually have our own YouTube channel or page or whatever you want to call it, where all of these videos are uploaded. So they actually are available to the public. So feel free to share it with anybody you'd like. So without any further ado, Brett, tell us about Viking.
Well, thank you very much, John, and very excited to share about Viking. As mentioned, my name is Brett Dalgard. I've been with Viking a little over 5 years, a lot of time on board our vessels in operations, experience in shore excursions, as well as hotel operations, an incredible company to work for, an incredible company for you to sail with. And I think we might rival you, John, with how quickly we get back with customer relations. I know our goal is always minimum 72 hours, but I know a lot of times we resolve immediately. So it's a very great company to work for. Very proud of them, and so many places, chances, experiences for our guests to sail. I'm again very fortunate over the past 5 years working for the company. I've been able to travel quite a few places, and here's a nice little map to show where we sail, where we go. And this doesn't even cover all of them because there are some locations that we're not sailing to currently, but have sailed to in the past. But 7 continents, 85 countries, over 480 different ports around the world. We really want to touch every aspect of our destinations all around the world, and we're continually growing. So our guests are always asked, where would you like to go to next on our end of voyage surveys? And that helps us to grow more and more destinations all around the world. As mentioned, we have river, ocean, and expedition ships all around the world. We also have our Mississippi here domestically. So a chance for you really to choose, but also a chance to go from one brand to another or within the same, Viking brand, but feel very comfortable because each one of our ships still has that Viking, that Scandinavian feel on each one. And through all of our voyages, we have our Viking difference, and that's being focused on our destinations, culturally enriching and carefully curated. Our single owner, Torstein Hagen, is very proud of the brand that he's created. His daughter, Karina Hagen, you'll hear in many of our advertisements, they're very focused on the enrichment and the engagement in each one of the cultures and the destinations we go to. Now, we want to make sure that the value which we provide is always a focus, and part of that is that we want to make sure that you feel, though you may have to pay a little bit more for a Viking cruise, the total value which you receive in the voyage is well worth every penny that you would spend. And a lot of that is the included value while on the voyage of things like a complimentary shore excursion in each one of the ports. It's not just a hop on, hop off, or a drop in the city center. but a guided tour on one of our luxury coaches, taking you to the highlights, learning all of the history of the destinations. We don't charge extra for things like bottled water or Wi-Fi. We have included beer and wine at lunch and dinner. All of our amenities in our staterooms are part of your package, and there's no upcharges for those. So we really want to make sure that when you come on board, if you simply want to enjoy the experience without a single additional charge, you're able to do so and able to take in each one of the destinations to the fullest and still go out and explore without additional charges. And with so much of a great value, we've been able to continually win awards. And with that, our river ships 2 years in a row have won Condé Nast and Travel and Leisure's #1. And so we're very, very proud to win both those awards. We're waiting to hear for this year on the Travel and Leisure, but very, very excited to continually win awards. And those are things that we cannot buy. So those are things that our guests continue to show that they appreciate and recognize the value and the level of service that we provide. Now, sailing our European riverways is one of the biggest kind of ways that we've grown the brand. So 26 years we've been sailing through Europe, and this is kind of the 3 main itineraries that we do sail with. And I put the little MOA Vacations above that romantic Danube. That is an itinerary that we do have a group set up with, so I'll touch on that. But each one of these itineraries really does highlight that part or portion of the European Riverway, which our guests have come to love. And at this point in traveling, and especially traveling to Europe, it's a little bit more than just hopping on the plane and flying real quick. So we do find that most guests want to spend at least 8 to 10 days when traveling from the United States over to Europe. So most of our itineraries you'll see are a minimum of 8 days. We want to give you that full experience, and we find that most of our guests also do a pre or a post-cruise package, staying in those main cities a little bit longer. And so you'll see many of these itineraries do extend with extensions, not only in that region, but also some destinations elsewhere in Europe. So I'll highlight all 3 of these itineraries quickly. You know, I could spend all day talking about all of these itineraries, going into every destination around the world, but I'll hit some of the highlights, starting with the Rhine Getaway. Again, a main focal point through Europe, going from Basel to Amsterdam or Amsterdam to Basel. Either direction, we have sailings pretty much throughout the year. There is a low season or a season that's kind of coming to an end now, but we do have some new itineraries that do sail a little bit further into the winter. So if you're interested in that in the low season, do talk to your advisor with MOA, and we'll be able to get you onto that. Treasures of the Rhine is the new one through the winter. But 8 days, 4 countries, traveling along the Rhine. Again, Basel to Amsterdam or vice versa. You'll have the chance to stop in places like Kinderdijk and learn of the history, the windmills. Our included tour goes to see the windmills. You'll experience that history, taking in the culture, the flavors. Again, all of our destinations will bring flavors on board as well, so you'll be able to experience that. And of course, all of the cheeses and the wines of this region. You also have the chance to sail along the Rhine. So on about the 3rd day of the voyage, you'll spend about a half day. Your program director will share of the history of the Rhine, of the castles along the way. You'll be able to take in that scenery. A lot of our guests go out on the open deck, on the top deck, the sun deck, or the aquavit terrace out on the bow to take in the destinations. Again, as our historian, our program director, shares about the voyage as you cruise along. And stopping in places like Koblenz, you'll be able to see Marksburg Castle, another big highlight. This is a medieval castle. It was never attacked based on its location. It's a wonderful location, also stunning views. As our guests are able to go on this, it is our included tour going up to Marksburg Castle. Again, guided tour. Our coaches up most of the way. There are some steps to overcome, obviously a medieval castle, but the history, the views, every part of this You really will enjoy over 2,000 years of history shared on this tour. Continuing on, you'll be able to see a lot of the other areas of the Rhine River and a chance to take in its history. Another major factor and highlight of the Rhine are its Christmas markets. And so these itineraries I mentioned do sail almost year round. And so this time of year, right now, the Christmas markets are very, very popular. Our guests go on these voyages in the summertime and take it again in the winter just to visit the Christmas markets. So a fun, different experience. Each port has a different mug where you can get your mulled wine. And so the guests usually collect those and celebrate the holiday spirit through the Christmas markets. As I mentioned, another itinerary is the romantic Danube. So you'll find that the Rhine sails down to where the Main connects, and then the Main into the Danube. And so these three rivers, all part of the European riverways. And so the romantic Danube, another very, very popular itinerary, helped us to grow our staple longships. And I'll touch on the design of the longships here in a little bit, but sails from Ravensburg to Budapest or vice versa, stopping in 4 different countries, 8 days. You'll have guided tours all throughout. Really a wonderful, wonderful itinerary. Starting in Passau, Germany, you'll be able to see the beautiful history of the area. You have a walking tour that goes through. A lot of the tours will give you some chance to stop or to end in the main city squares and go off here. A great chance to taste some of the wines as well as some of the breads. I really enjoy the wines, and even more so the beers. If you're a beer drinker, they have small glasses and they will just continually refill those. So do make sure you know your way back over to the ship or have the ship map with you, but really a fun place visiting in Passau, Germany. Then continuing over to Krems, Austria. There you'll be able to go over to the Gatwick Abbey. This is a private tour, a tour that we've set up just with the Abbey. So something unique for Viking. The history all throughout Austria is wonderful. For those looking for a little bit more adventure, we do have bike tours. It takes you into the countryside. Some of the tours are traditional bikes. Some of them we do have electric bike tours. So depending on your mobility or what your skill level is, those electric bikes really do come in handy, especially at the end when you have a few hills to overcome. But continuing along, you'll be able to see a lot of the history and as well some of the religious history and some of the beautiful cathedrals. Vienna is the next location that you'll stop, and you'll be able to see the incredible cathedrals there in Vienna, as well as the history of the music. We'll have an evening performance, Mozart and orchestra. So if you're interested in that, you can go off. The Vienna Boys Choir is another highlight. Sometimes we're able to bring them down to the ship. So another very, very beautiful port, the scenery all around. And of course, along the way, the flavors will come to you. I mentioned sailing on the Rhine. You'll have a chance to sail on the Danube as well. Again, your program director will share of the history, the scenery as you travel along, some of the industry as well. The cruise industry is a big part, but also the industrial side of the river. You'll learn a little bit about that, again, traveling along. And your final destination will be in Budapest. And another fantastic place for shopping. The markets are something you must see. The spice markets, the natural food, all of the food in those markets. Our chefs a lot of times will go out and purchase local items, bring them back, and then share them in the cafe or at the Aquavit Terrace. So do look for that while you sail. And if you're looking for something a little bit different, there are also thermal baths in Hungary or in Budapest. So I do recommend the thermal baths if that's something you're interested in. So if you want to do a little bit of all of that, we do have our Grand European, which is a connection of the Rhine, which has the Main in the middle and the Danube, all 3 of those riverways together in a 15-day itinerary, sailing all the way along. Again, so much to see, so much of the history as you travel. And again, time in places like Austria. I think the highlights, the history, the storytelling, our luxury coaches will be along with you the whole time with our guides. And I think everyone that goes on this itinerary really, really enjoys it. And then a lot of times they do go back for such things like the Christmas markets. As we continue with some of our other itineraries, big highlight, and even more so coming up next year, is our Paris in the heart of Normandy. Sailing up in this section of France, it's always a beautiful, it's a Paris round trip. And so we're able to dock right in the heart of Paris. And so you're able to walk directly in, steps from the Eiffel Tower, guided tours throughout, so much history, culture, the museums, the art museums, a lot to see and do, so many options with our tours. This coming year is the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and so we have a few select sailings that are going to highlight the history of our military history, and they're going to spend some extra time at the beaches in Normandy as well as the cemeteries. So if you are interested in such, the D-Day sailings, there are very few spots still available, but there is still some space, and we are going to extend that into 2025 as well, based on the demand and how many do want to recognize the sacrifice that took place there in Normandy. So a really incredible journey, an extended time learning about the history there in Normandy. So if that's something you're interested, I do suggest signing up right away for that, the 80th anniversary. Otherwise, we have our other sailings that do Normandy and the heart of France, continually sailing as well. So I mentioned our European longships. So the design of our ships is very unique, slightly different than many of the others on the Riverways. So all of the ships have to maximize based on the lock size. So there's a maximum size to our ships. And so we've been able to take advantage of that by creating a more square bow, which is where we have our aquavit terrace, a nice al fresco dining area. You'll see the beautiful design with those windows. All of our rooms have either a balcony or a window, so no inside staterooms on any of our ships. So a nice way to take in the destinations as you travel. The Scandinavian design is seen throughout all of our staterooms as well as our public spaces. The natural light, so many small areas, reading areas, sit and relax, take in the beauty of the surrounding. And so I personally love the small little corners where you can sit with a book, look out, take in the castles or the destinations as we travel along. The natural filled light all throughout. This is our main staircase, and our guest services just around the corner. Just the destination is the main focus, but we're an understated elegance all around the vessel, and our guests really enjoy the ability to relax in a very comfortable setting. Now, as much as the destination and seeing the ports is critical, we also want to bring the destination to you through our dining. And our restaurant will highlight with destination-focused meals each day, lunch and dinner. We highlight the destinations, and so you'll see that in our main restaurant. But as I mentioned earlier, there's also al fresco dining, a little bit more lighter fare there at the Aquavit Terrace. Unique bar that we've built. This is a node towards our Viking heritage. So the bar itself is a clinker-built bar, that wood designed to represent the Viking longships. So a nice place to enjoy, and even our beverage package. I mentioned value earlier. Our beverage package, if you do want premium spirits and wine, cocktails throughout the day. So again, complimentary beer and wine at lunch and dinner. But that beverage package is just $25 a day. So if that's something you're interested in for additional drinks, a great value. Again, you can have very expensive bottles of wine that are then included for any time throughout the day with the beverage package. Nice view of our living room. The living room is where a lot of our presentations and enrichment take place. Our program directors will share a little bit about the history of the destinations. We'll talk about the ports, the tours, all of the amenities of the vessel. So this is really that nice place to relax, our living room, as we call it. Destination performances will come on from time to time in the evening, as well as our program director will host different events, trivias to keep everyone engaged throughout. I mentioned that Aquavit Terrace a few times. It's one of my favorite spots on board, especially entering the ports or sailing away in the afternoon. A few rocking chairs there up on the front, some blankets if it's ever cool, but a nice place to have a drink, relax, and see the destinations. Our sun deck on the top is a nice place to walk off a few of those calories. We also have a herb garden here on the top deck and another place to relax, especially in those summer itineraries as we sail along the riverways. So take advantage of that. Now, our staterooms, so much space. We are very proud of some of our large staterooms, so much to see, so much to enjoy. So please do look at the different options. The amenities within, we've really maximized the space to give you so much within those staterooms. This is one of our Explorer suites, a much larger stateroom. It's 2 different rooms with a nice living room, a wraparound balcony, as well as a secondary room, your bedroom, and a large bathroom. Again, so much to see outside. So this gives you a chance to bring the destination into the stateroom as well. Our veranda rooms are another great option for you. A sliding glass door out to your veranda, some space to sit and relax in the mornings or the evenings, that day of sailing. So another nice style of room for you. Our French balcony also gives you the chance to see those destinations in the full ceiling to floor picture window. It is a sliding door, so you find that a lot of our guests, especially in the spring and fall itineraries, will leave that door open, just really taking in the destinations as we sail along. Then our entry level, our standard stateroom, it actually is slightly larger than that French balcony, but has the picture window there at the top. As I mentioned earlier with the mulled wine, a lot of our guests end up using that space up at the top to put all their glasses, or they'll use that as extra space when unpacking. So it is all usable space, and our guests, again, most of them spend most of their time out in the destinations, but the rooms do have such amenities, and our guests really enjoy them. Now, sailing a little bit further from the Rhine, the Main, or the Danube, we do have some sailings on the Douro River, and the next few itineraries or ships I will mention really are unique. They have a little bit smaller square footage overall, which is why we have only 106 guests on this vessel on the Douro. So if you're interested in sailing into Portugal, the Douro is a beautiful river, so much history, the flavors and cultures, again, all shared on board this vessel. We're also sailing on the Mekong. We have 2 vessels, or 1 vessel sailing currently, second one being built. Only 80 guests on this vessel, so a great crew to guest ratio. It gives you a chance to see Vietnam and Cambodia. You'll fly in. This is a land cruise package together, seeing in the history as well as flavors, tastes all throughout. The Scandinavian feel is still represented on this vessel, so it feels like home and is very similar to our other vessels. Now, a very exciting and very popular itinerary as well is our Egyptian sailings on the Nile. We've seen such demand for this that we are building more ships. We are building our own ships. We're the only company that's not chartering vessels, but we're actually building our own. The Egyptian government is working very well with Viking in growing this business, and so we've got small ships, about 60 guests and almost 60 crew. So a 1-to-1 ratio. The experience that our guests are enjoying, a little bit different in the natural beauty. It's more of a historic beauty. You'll see the destinations very close to the ships. This is the Viking Ra, again, one of our brand new custom-built vessels, and we are growing more and more with this fleet and absolutely love the destination. This is just kind of touching on some of the itineraries. Again, we have many all around, more into France. Again, I mentioned some of those Christmas markets. So if you are interested in any itineraries, so much information on our website, but really reaching out to your advisors at MOA. They'll be able to kind of guide you to the best destination for you in so many itineraries. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit closer to home and on the rivers, we do have our Viking Mississippi, sailing for a little over a year now. It's the amenities, the incredible experience of sailing on a Viking vessel. Again, all along the Mississippi, destinations, wonderful experience. You can see that bow, similar to our European longships, nice place to sit out and relax and take in all of the destinations. All veranda staterooms, so this is similar, or a bit of a blend to our river ships as well as our ocean ships. So you'll see a nice, interesting blend all throughout this vessel. I mentioned different itineraries. We have 4 different itineraries. There's a New Orleans round trip staying in the southern part. There's also the heart of the Delta. The Delta starts at the Peabody Hotel in Memphis, Tennessee. And so that's our heart of the Delta. So that's from Memphis down to New Orleans. America's Great River sails the entire Mississippi. So that's a 22-day northbound journey or a 15-day southbound journey. Because of traffic and the way that
you didn't text back, so I just figured I'd call real quick.
Oh no,
the itinerary sailing northbound is a little bit longer with the traffic that's sailing southbound. The right of way is given to those vehicle or the motor vessels. So you'll see that's slightly longer there and gives you a little bit more time northbound in each one of those ports of call. On our last itinerary, that is America's Heartland. That's from St. Louis to St. Paul, that upper Mississippi, a lot of natural beauty. We spend some time taking in the bald eagles. Again, a nice way to see our destinations, feel close to home, but also to experience that Viking value on the Mississippi. A few more pictures of the Viking Mississippi. This is the Explorer's Bar, Explorer's Lounge. They're out on the bow, a chance for you to take in the destinations. Our staterooms are very similar to our ocean. I'll touch on those here in a moment, but beautiful, large restrooms, your stateroom, bathroom, the amenities all throughout. And again, no inside staterooms. This is all verandas throughout the vessel. As I mentioned some awards earlier with our river ships, our ocean ships as well have won some awards. Condé Nast and Travel and Leisure have named us #1 only cruise line to receive this for ocean and river. And I'll also mention Expedition. We've really been able to showcase all of the things that we're able to do. This vessel, so much space, at 930 passengers. The actual space on board, though, is so much for our guests. Open areas, open lounges, the Explorer's Lounge where guests can sit and relax, Torshaven, our evening lounge, winter garden, afternoon tea. I've spent about 3.5 years working on these ships, and so I know them inside and out, and really nice experiences. I personally would spend every day in the spa. And again, those are things that are complimentary. You can go to the spa anytime throughout the day and just walk right in. There's no additional charge for the spa. So a nice place to relax. Here's the living room, similar to our living room or our atrium on our river ships. This is a nice place for the guests to relax. This is 3 stories, and here we'll have our evening performances with our string duos, our resident pianist. We'll have a few performances throughout. Really a nice place before or after dinner to sit and have a drink. Our Viking bar, our living room bar is there. Another clinker-built bar for our guests to relax and, again, enjoy the evenings. As far as destination dining and all of the dining choices, our ocean ships have 8 different options for you for meals. The restaurant, again, is a sit-down meal, but we have 2 specialty restaurants, Manfredi's as well as Chef's Table. These, again, are included in your cruise fare, so you simply need a reservation. There's no additional charge for that. Mumsen's is our Norwegian deli. It's up in the Explorer's Lounge. We also have our afternoon tea and winter garden, our aquavit terrace out by the World Cafe, a nice place for some stations of different destination-focused dining. And then our pool grill, a very light fare, more relaxing area out by the pool. And of course, 24-hour room service. So there's never a chance for you to miss a meal here on our ocean ships. So many opportunities for food. And again, destination focused throughout. Now, as far as enrichment in our lecture series, we do have resident historians as well as guest lecturers on all of our itineraries on our ocean ships. The resident historians will focus on the destinations, the history of the area, but also have a nice history of our heritage. They'll spend some time at our museum, which is on board, our Viking Museum, and they'll hold daily office hours sharing about the history of the destinations, but also perform some lecture series in our Star Theater, again, focusing on those destinations. I mentioned all veranda staterooms. All of the categories have a nice chance for you to step out onto your veranda. The amenities of these staterooms, the large bathrooms, heated floors, no fog mirrors. Many of them have that heated towel rack, amenities that I wish I had in my own home. It's really wonderful. The lower picture is one of our Explorers rooms. So the Explorer suites, again, have a nice living room as well as the bedroom and a very nice two-sink vanity there in the restrooms. Wraparound veranda on the Explorers. And if you're really looking for highest level, our owner suite even has a sauna inside the suite. So if that's the level of service or what you're looking for, please do look at our owner suite. Just the layout is interesting to see. Now, a highlight itinerary that I want to mention, which MOA does have a group sailing of, it's going to be Alaska and the Inside Passage. This is going to be an 11-day itinerary, visiting 2 different countries, the US and Canada, highlighting Alaska. The Inside Passage is one of my favorites. I had the chance of about 3 seasons in Alaska. The destinations where you're going to see Alaska is ever changing, and I think everybody needs to get up there and see it. It's just filled with natural beauty, the culture. There's not anyone that lives in Alaska that doesn't want to be there. So you'll come into guides, and everybody you'll meet will truly showcase and share the true Alaskan spirit. So itineraries sail from Vancouver to Seward or Seward to Vancouver. Either way, the destinations stay the same throughout, just in a little bit different order, heading north or south. I'll mention some of my favorite places. Ketchikan is really one of the highlights. This is Creek Street, so it's a neat kind of pedestrian-only walkway off the main thoroughfare. All of these are built along the river. In the end of the season, you'll end up having the salmon that are running through. And so you'll see a lot of action along this river. They've got small little canneries along as well. So a nice place to purchase local snacks, as well as some salmon maybe to take home with you. A lot of the native heritage as well. So you'll have some time maybe to go over and see some of the native totem poles. The history is really well preserved in this region. And so I do think Ketchikan is one of my favorite destinations along the itinerary. Another place to get out and truly see Alaska is in Skagway. This is actually a picture of the White Pass train heading up into the Yukon. The history of the gold rush is highlighted here. So the Yukon and its story. The White Pass is a narrow gauge train, and so you have the opportunity, if you wish, to go up the White Pass. There's so many different extensions or different tours that you can do from there. Walking through the town of Skagway, really it comes to life each morning. The destination, all the small little boutique stores. We'll talk about, again, the glory days of the gold rush, some of the neat history throughout. Now, you can't sail the Inside Passage in Alaska without also seeing the glaciers. So we do have a chance to see Hubbard Glacier, and our ships sail right up in, well, as close as we safely can go. We do want to, be respectful to nature. And so the National Park Service does set perimeters. And so we're able to move in, give you a nice view of the glaciers. Hubbard Glacier is absolutely stunning. The blues that you see in photography, I recommend anyone that has a camera, bring it along with you on these cruises. The stunning photography. You'll see a lot of bald eagles here as well. You might see some otters, humpback whales, as well as orcas. I've had the pleasure of seeing nearly all of the wildlife, even some bears, in my journeys through Alaska. So make sure that you come prepared for that. So the journey will either start or end in Vancouver, and so there's a number of different pre or post extensions as well. So if you're starting or ending in Vancouver, the time just to relax, you can go to Capilano, which has its suspension bridges. There's another itinerary that takes you out on the Rocky Mountaineer, a train that spends some time cruising along through Canada. If you're going on the other side and up into Seward, a lot of people want to see Denali. And so Denali Extension and the Denali Explorer is a very, very popular extension. Seeing Denali and having a chance to get up close, the wildlife throughout Denali, again, really, really wonderful. So, most of our guests, as I mentioned, do like to join in some of the pre or post. I always recommend them. Again, it gives you a chance to get settled in before or after your voyage, but really taking in those main destinations at the start or end. I mentioned this voyage, and there really are so many, though. Our ships, we're at 10 ocean ships at this point, sail again all around the world. Scandinavia and the Baltic are very popular destinations, our Viking homelands. Sailing has been a staple. Guests truly love this. Another area is the Mediterranean. We do sail the Mediterranean throughout the entire year, even into the winter. I actually prefer sailing the Mediterranean in the wintertime, as the lines are much smaller, the crowds are much smaller, and a lot of times it can be more or warmer than even here in parts of the United States. So it's a great way to see. I love the Adriatic down into Greece, even some itineraries going down to Malta. So please, again, speak to your advisor if you're interested in any of these. And if you want to stay a little bit closer, we have many itineraries in the Americas. I just mentioned Alaska, but the West Indies, we have sailings through the Panama Canal in Central America, itineraries going down to South America and the Chilean fjords. So a lot of those through the Americas, and then others that sail from through Asia and over into Australia, New Zealand, really so many destinations, and also itineraries that connect our rivers and our oceans. So a lot to see out there. Again, please, I could spend hours and hours and hours talking about these itineraries. But I do want to mention just one more, and that's my favorite. I was fortunate enough to sail on a world cruise, and so when you're ready to downsize or pack up for a year, you can just put everything off to the side and go for a world cruise. This is our 138-day voyage. We also have a 190-day voyage. As mentioned, I was able to sail on our Viking Sun, as she did the world cruise about 4 years ago. And it really is an experience that I treasure and will never forget. So if this is something you want to do, I think it is well worth it. And of course, there are segments of this that you can do about 30 to 40 days if you want something a little bit shorter. Another major milestone was our launch of expedition vessels. Our Polaris and Octantis ships are both stunning. They're polar class vessels, and again, already winning awards. We won Condé Nast Reader's Choice this year, and so proud of the vessels. It's exploration to Antarctica, but also in a very high-end, nice way to see. This is a picture of the Finsa Terrace, a beautiful, relaxing setting, steam-driven fireplace there on the back. And so you can just kind of take in the destination, again, see the wildlife from the ship, and so many other elements on board. Our Aula Theater screens come down, so you can have presentations, learn of the history, the culture. Our expedition leaders are very well versed. I know one or two of them are marine biologists by trade, All of them come with years and years of experience sailing this region. So much history and culture to share, but also the natural beauty and the science is highlighted through our presentations here in the aula. The Explorer's Lounge, I mentioned similarly on our other vessels, nice place to sit, relax, have a cup of coffee, or down on the lower level, there is a full bar, chance for you to take in the scenery while enjoying a little libation or a little warm up after coming back from being out on our tours. Now, going off on our tours, we don't have a tour operator in Antarctica. We have our expedition team, and we've got our toys. And so here's a nice picture of our toys out there. 13 Zodiacs, 2 special operations boats. You can see some of the kayaks behind one of the Zodiacs there. We also have 2 submarines on board. So we were able to take those out and again, show you the destinations, focus on science, on the enrichment, on the exploration. Another great picture, this is of our special operations boat being launched. It comes right off the hangar, the back section of the vessel, and guests are able to embark here on board in the hangar, and that's where they'll then set off onto their explorations. Now, the amenities and everything you're able to do off the vessel are really, really nice and incredible. And after a day out in the cold in Antarctica, it's always nice to come back on board. And I mentioned earlier the spa, so the expedition ships also have a spa. This is complimentary. The warm pool that we have there in the center, also saunas and heat baths. There are also some Nordic bathing traditions with some cold baths. So it is up to you, but then I prefer the nice warm beds that you can relax on. Our Nordic balcony and our Nordic staterooms are very, very popular. It's a new design, so the entire window does slide down. You're able to open that up. So again, no inside staterooms on any of our vessels. So all of our rooms would have a window like this or larger. Again, focused on the destination, a chance for you to sit. There's a lounge kind of couch there to take in the natural beauty. And as I mentioned, that window does come down, so you're able to open that up. Again, depending on the weather, it really depends on how much you want to have that open, but a nice way to take in. A lot of times we'll announce if there's some wildlife, so you'll be able to open that up and look out, take in the beautiful views, as well as see your friends and family if they're coming and going off the Zodiacs. Now, the main itinerary that we run with our expedition ships down to Antarctica is going to be our Antarctic Explorer. This is a round trip out of Buenos Aires, or out of Ushuaia is where the actual sailing goes from. And so you'll see that you set sail, you'll travel across the Drake Passage. We have some incredible technology on our vessels with the U-tanks and the stabilizers, dynamic positioning that really helps to stabilize the vessel through the Drake Passage. And then you'll reach down to Antarctica and you'll spend 6 days. Again, this does change depending on each itinerary, and I'll show you on our next slide a few of the locations that you'll go to before heading back across the Drake Passage. Now, do want to mention, so this itinerary states that it starts in Buenos Aires. That is where you'll fly down to, and then we do have a charter flight from Buenos Aires to Ushuaia, again, making sure that everybody's there together to board the vessel. I mentioned those days in Antarctica. The group IATO does control the landings and the history being preserved and the natural history. And so the landing sites do change day to day. That's our expedition leaders will kind of guide you where to go, what's going to be the best based on weather, ice movement, where they've seen different animals and wildlife. So each one of these different markings of the bays or the bluffs, harbors are going to change each itinerary, again, depending on weather and the expedition leader. They'll work directly with our captain, kind of state where they're going to be heading. And of course, they'll then work with our hotel manager to make sure that all of the time off the vessel is then maximized when you come back on board with all those amenities to counter it. So again, the time in Antarctica, this is another one of the group destinations that we have a sailing with MOA. So if you're interested, again, so much to see, more penguins than you could ever imagine. So a really nice itinerary out there for those of you wishing to reach, many of you, your 7th continent. this is your chance. Now, our expedition ships do sail a little bit more than just Antarctica. We do sail along the Americas, sailing north and south from Antarctica up to the Great Lakes. This is our ship sailing into the Great Lakes. This is through the Welland Canal. So we do choose to go through the Welland Canal rather than over Niagara, but a really neat experience sailing through the Welland Canal. Sail to all 5 Great Lakes. So if you're interested in that, Toronto to Thunder Bay, Toronto to Duluth, Toronto to Milwaukee, a few different options throughout. Highlighting the Georgian Bay up in the Canadian side. We are able to take out a lot of our Zodiacs and all of our fun toys on the Canadian side. As mentioned, sailing to all 5 Great Lakes. This is the full collection. So if that's something you're interested in, so much to see and do through the Great Lakes. And again, much closer to home. So you don't have to fly all the way to Europe. You can fly to Toronto and then end the voyage in Duluth and a simple flight back home from there. So a little bit of a nice way to see North America as well. And as our itineraries grow and you want to see more and more places, we have added some itineraries heading north, sailing from Toronto, as well as Nuuk, Greenland, into the Arctic and the Arctic Circle. So if that's something you're interested in, this is going to be coming in 2025, as well as itineraries sailing from the Arctic to the Antarctic or vice versa. It's our latitudinal world cruise, sailing along the latitudinal axis, going all the way north to south or south to north. Again, really interesting itineraries, about 45 days, seeing so many destinations. I mentioned those 3 different itineraries that MOA has set up. So that Alaskan kind of inside passage Seward to Vancouver. The dates are listed here, and I'm sure John and myself, we can get all of these out to you. I think this is also in the MOA magazine. So if you have seen that, as well as the postcard, we've really gotten this out to you. So I want to make sure that you see these dates. The rates that we've been able to build are based on our group rates. So there's a built-in discount for groups. So you'll see that the price is really going to be unbeatable compared to any of our other itineraries. Also, with any of our bookings made until December 31st, there's a $100 shipboard credit per person. It's going to be added to each one of those bookings. So again, some of these, like the Danube Waltz, may fill up pretty quickly for a great price point like that. If you are interested, please see John or any of the MOA advisors right away. There will be some other opportunities. So if this does fill up, I'm sure, John, we could probably come up with another date or another time. But do want to make sure that if you are interested, I've worked on board, and I believe I've sailed with a number of you on our expedition as well as ocean, and it is wonderful to sail with a group. Our hotel operations team will be able to accommodate if you're interested in having a group gathering. Reach out to the general manager, and they'll be able to get everybody together. But traveling with like-minded individuals is really a great benefit to that. And I think you'll find these 3 itineraries really highlight each one of our oceans, rivers, and expedition, and give you a little taste of each. So with that, where can we take you next? I gave you lots of different options out there. I could, again, talk all day if you want me to, John. We'll set up more and more of these, and I think I can.
We'll set up a 20-hour webinar, and you can go through all the itineraries.
Yeah, exactly. So we do have our holiday sale, and we celebrated our 25th anniversary last year with just $25 deposit, and we just kept that going. So you're able to put a deposit down, just $25. A lot of our trips right now do have up to free airfare. So, please look at the different options. And additionally, that $100 shipboard credit for the next, or for the rest of the month till the 31st. So there we are.
Excellent.
You think, did we get a couple?
We got some questions.
Okay.
So, and if anybody's been reading the Q&A, you'll see a number of times I mentioned that, for the more specific questions, like, where's this itinerary go, or do you have an itinerary to do that? call us, email us, get a hold of one of our full-time travel consultants, and they can get your individual specific information. We have a number of questions I thought people might be interested in. So it looks like we're going to go a couple of minutes long, but that's fine. The first question we had was about accessibility on the ships. I know it varies somewhat between ocean, river, and expeditions. And I kind of said call and we can check for specifically where you want to go. But can you address that real quick? And there was a later question that kind of ties into that, and that was with the CPAP machines.
Yeah, so the accessibility on the vessel, moving about the vessel is generally very, very easy. We try to follow a universal design with, we have our elevators, we have, accessibility all around the ship is quite easy. On our European long ships, there are some staterooms on our lower level. The elevator does not go down to those. So again, if that is a concern, we can make sure that we get you on to one of the staterooms in a more accessible room. The biggest thing, though, is that our ports of call are not always accessible. And so we want generally for our guests to be able to get out and see the ports of call. The gangways, the locations we go to can sometimes be a little bit more remote, and we're very proud of the destinations that we get to. So you do need to be able to overcome the gangways on your own. Sometimes on our ocean vessels, it's almost one full flight of steps. So, it's not going in and out of those huge cruise terminals with, the bridges that come over. A lot of times we're going into ports where we're putting down our gangway and our set of stairs. So you do need to be able to overcome that. And as I mentioned, the ports themselves, most of the European river ports, cobblestone streets. I've seen walkers, if it's a balance and that type of thing, a lot of times it's very easy to overcome. If it's an endurance kind of mobility, it becomes a little bit more challenging. So we do have some great itineraries where I mentioned the Great Lakes, the Mississippi. Do have a little bit more, with US and ADA. The destinations are more focused on that. But the destinations we're going to, especially throughout Europe, don't always have that same kind of ADA in mind.
Yeah. And it's not just a Viking specific issue. For example, last year we did a land tour, Germany for Oberammergau and Oktoberfest, and it was the same type of thing. I mean, every city we went to had the cobblestone streets and those types of things. And then the CPAP machines.
CPAP, you can use them on board. We do ask to try to let our reservations team know in advance, especially on our river ships for the distilled water. We'll be able to get that on board. But the more notice we have, the more we can make sure that we have that already on day one for you. But CPAPs, plug in, no problem.
Okay. I had a question about discounts. Can you touch real quick on your past passenger program?
Oh yeah. So now you put me on the spot for the actual numbers, but
there is one.
As you the more sailings you've been on, we do recognize our past passengers. Between 200, 400, it continually gets bigger depending on how many sailings you've been on. But we do recognize our past passengers through a discount. And then, of course, on board, we'll recognize you through our Explorer Society event. But
and that's how many sailings you've been on with Viking. So if you've been on Viking 7 times and then you book through MOA Vacation, that's your 8 sailings. So that all goes
all together. Yeah.
The question on Antarctica that dovetails with the multi-day Patagonia. Most of your Antarcticas have a 5-night Patagonia as an option, right?
Correct. Yes. So there are a few different Iguazu Falls. There's a couple different pre and post as well with Antarctica, and I think all of them give you that option as well. So all the dates.
I'm going to skip one because it's a little less positive. Do you have any river cruises that go to Frankfurt? I know you used to in the past off the Main.
Not that there's nothing right now that stops there.
Okay.
On the Grand European, you stop close, but No, currently there's not.
Okay. On Alaska, somebody asked specifically about Glacier Bay. I know you talked about sightseeing through the Inside Passage. Do you do different ones? I know there's Sawyer, there's Glacier, there's a number of them. Do all the sailings do glacier viewing, and does it vary depending on the sailing?
Yeah, it varies depending on the sailing, where specifically they go. All of them will go to, generally it's Hubbard Glacier,
Okay,
but
Hubbard.
all of them will. Again, it's based on the number of ships in the region.
Yep.
Some of it's permitting, but we'll make sure. Every once in a while, I think there have been some sailings that go up to Tracy Arm, and up there. Others have gone into Glacier Bay National Park. So yeah, there's a few different options.
So if I heard you correctly, they should call or email MOA Vacations and let the rep know what they want to do, and we'll get that taken. Is there sailing up the Norwegian coast? I would assume that's like a Norwegian fjord sailing that they're asking about. I know that's available. Is the
Yeah,
Norwegian coast different than Norwegian fjords?
we do have a few sailings through the Norwegian fjords, a few that connect Iceland and Norway, others that go from Bergen to London. The Homelands sails from Bergen to Stockholm. Then the Northern Lights are into the Midnight Sun. Those two really focus on Norway and the northern part of Norway.
Yeah. Last minute sailings available through MOA. I assume that's specifically to Viking, or their Viking last minute sailings. And I answered that and basically said, even with 100 ships, your ships develop really quickly. I mean, I don't,
They do.
I mean, I can't remember the last time I've seen you guys have a lot of last minute offers, but if you just wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, we just now opened for our 2026 sailings because 2024 is really almost all filled up. I think it's over 85% for next year is already filled up. So there are some last minute sailings. You can call our reservations, or you can talk with obviously our MOA team, and get on a wait list for an itinerary. Again, that's not always likely to happen. If we do have space that opens up, we reach out to MOA and we let them know that we do have these open sailings, but usually it just doesn't come.
Doesn't happen. I will say, and I've been doing this 35 plus years. Size matters. The larger the ship, the more likely that something will open up last minute. A lot of times that's going to open up more so by people canceling, because you'll look at a ship and 6-9 months out, it's full. And then as you get closer, something may open up, which goes back to your point of getting on the wait list. All right. We've had 3 new questions come in, but this was asked kind of during the presentation, and I'm sure you've gotten this question before. And that is, and it kind of ties into the $25 deposit. Why does Viking require the 100% full payment so far in advance?
Yeah, and it's something a little bit different than most of the industry. What we're able to do is we're able to lock in your price at that time. And so it gives us leverage and buying power, which we're then able to give back to our guests. So the price point that they lock in today for 2 years from now, if they were to book that itinerary 2 years from now, the price would have gone up by 2,000. So what we're able to do is we lock in all of our vendors. We lock in. We're now booking and issuing our flights much earlier. And so, it's different than others, but it creates a level of value which we can lock in prices for you as the consumer and through our vendors. And again, it's value back to our guests. So
3 more. So we're gonna do far over. Somebody asked us, and I'm not absolutely sure what they're asking on this one. Are we able to see pricing for various trips online? We obviously can, our agents can, and they can provide that pricing for you. If you're asking, is there a place you can go and see, like there's 100 ships, can I look up all the ships and all the price and all that? I would assume the only way you can get that vast amount of information would be at the Vikings website, but keep in mind that that's the pricing that's available to the general public. I would say that we are working on it at MOA Vacations. We do have access to the API now, and all that means, sorry to use a technical term, is we actually can go in and see all of the Viking ships. We can actually go in and have access to exactly what a res agent at Viking can see. I would suggest, and I know I sound like a broken record, but if you're interested in Alaska summer of 2024 and June and August, I mean, talk to an agent and let them, help you narrow that down again.
Yeah.
And then they can send you the pricing for the ones that meet your parameters. And we'll go back to Glacier Bay. You want to go to Glacier Bay summer of 2024 in either July or August, rather than you waste all your time online. Give us a call, drop us an email, and then we can get back to you and say, here's the sailings, here's the pricing, and that kind of thing. Oh, here's a good one. Well, not a good one, but one I hadn't even thought of. Eastern Europe toward the Black Sea. Has the conflict in Ukraine eliminated that option?
Long term, no. Short term, yes. We will always take the safety of our guests, our crew, our vessels into consideration. And so we're constantly revisiting relationships with our ports. Actually, today we just announced brand new itineraries sailing on our ocean ships in China. So we've got some really neat new itineraries sailing along China. We want to sail everywhere. We want to sail in Russia. We want to sail, to the Holy Lands. But we're never going to jeopardize your safety as our guest, our crew, or our vessels, and things like the unrest in Ukraine. We've pulled back from a few different countries on ocean as well as river itineraries, but our vessels still exist. I believe there's 2 vessels sitting in Ukraine and 4 in Russia.
And then the final one, we got on this and just probably a clarification we talked about before. On the Viking Pass Passenger program, that is one program which combines your sailings on river, on ocean, and on expedition, correct?
Correct, yes. So over the past 25 years, if you've sailed on any of the brand, it all goes into one.
So you can go on all 3 of the MOA groups next year, and it combines all of them. So
yeah.
Artie,
John, I'll make sure I get you the actual numbers for past passenger, but it increases throughout the loyalty.
You know what? Why don't we try including that in the email we send everybody tomorrow? Which is a great segue for me to remind everybody that we did record this webinar, so we will be sending you a copy of it tomorrow. Once again, friends and family, whomever you want to bring along, they get the group rates, they get the amenity, they get the service, everything that we provide. As long as they're traveling with a MOA member, they get access to all of that. And then I just want to thank everybody for joining us today. We do 2 or 3 of these a month. I love doing them. And then, of course, I want to thank Brett on behalf of everybody at MOA and MOA Vacations for taking an hour plus out of his busy schedule to talk with us today. Fantastic job, Brett. And I'm going to turn it over to you for the final word.
Well, again, I thank you all. Viking really gives me and as well as you to explore the world in comfort, the chance to really see these destinations, and I hope you take the chance to reach out to John and the team with MOA to explore and to see more destinations. It's enriching and it's eye-opening. So wishing you a wonderful holiday season, and take advantage of all of these benefits up until the 31st. So reach out to John and the team, and I look forward to seeing you on our vessels.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.